Okay, we're very excited about all of these ideas that are being brought forward today and that you're meeting all these people. This is not just a runway of some kind, so we have to limit who comes up here. And where we've been in Acapulco and in Cuernavaca and other places, we have just a table, and there's several of us who come up to the mic, and then we ask people to come forward to participation from the audience, but we don't have enough resources and time to be able to include audience participation at this time. Another person that we have met in these talks is Sylvia Maria Valls, Dr. Sylvia Maria Valls. She's originally from the United States and Cuba, and she is mother and grandmother of 4 citizens of the United States, and she's also mother of a Mexican-American who was born here in Mexico, and she is, has her doctorate in modern foreign languages, and she'd like to talk to you today. You have no idea how happy I am to be here today, because for 4 decades, at least 30 years, I have been wanting to do this. There are some things that we haven't mentioned and other things that we have mentioned that are very important, and I would like to talk about them. One of the first and most important things, as has been mentioned, that we be able to recognize the strategic needs of our common struggle. There is information that I have just gotten over the last few months thanks to a colleague that I met in the New York Times Forum for Drug Policy in New York. This wonderful woman who's an expert in financial imagines. She's Catherine Austin Fitz, and she has a website that's called the Solari Action Network that I recommend to you greatly. And Al Giordano has published one of the articles that I translated one of her articles, and that article is called Narco Dollars for Dummies. And I have another article that is called The Myth of the Empire of the Will of the Law. Catherine worked for an entire year as the Undersecretary of Housing and Urban Development. And she realized in that year that when she was in the government that this institution, which is supposed to facilitate the purchase of housing by poor families, is actually laundering money. And in another call that she made to me, because she wanted to make sure that I understood exactly what I was talking about, and you have to understand what POP means, which is called the pop factor, and in addition to being a soda that you drink. She says for each $100,000 that is laundered through these companies that appear in Wall Street, these companies that are publicly purchased, for every $100,000 that go through their books, then there is a pop factor that comes in, a POP factor. It means for $100,000 that they put through their books, there's about $2 million is the amount that increases the value of their stocks. Sometimes in some companies, the POP factor is 80 times. So every $100,000 that is laundered through these companies, then their stock goes up by about $8 million. So I think that this is a critical point within the debate about legalization. We are between a rock and a hard place, because it's very, very important for, at the same time that we're managing to repair some of the damage or reduce some of the damage, and allowing people to let people know what this drug war actually means, and that this war is not being won. Only the drug dealers are having a wonderful impact from this drug war. So it's very important that on one hand we act to reduce damage, and on the other hand it's very important, and it would be a good idea to have a movement that could includes civil resistance that on the part of consumers and for other people who are interested in this movement, so that all of the states that are supporting this war on drugs, they are totally out of line. Okay, that we have to tell them that the emperor has no clothes. He is stark naked, and we need to tell people that if we need to go out on the street, we have to come out of the shadows, and we have to tell them publicly, and we have to point out particular laws that are an invitation to crime, and any law that is an invitation to crime is an illegitimate law. Along the same lines, it would be important also to talk a little bit about this medical situation that is being imposed upon us. I think it's important to say that you cannot separate the medicinal part from the religious part, because total health is a continuum between spiritual and physical well-being. Therefore, the state has no reason to intervene in relationship to any kind of use we may give to these plants, or we may include these plants, and especially if we are aware of our own risk and our own consciousness. I think it's very important that we disqualify any kind of law that regards the use of consensual or personal use of these substances. I think we need to make it broader, and we should reflect on this problem, which is unsustainable, a jurisdiction or a jurisprudence system in which there is no victim in these particular crimes. This is an unsustainable system. That which is private activity needs to continue to be private, and that which is public should still be public, and it shouldn't be backwards. And any kind of law which is not valid and doesn't have a victim is not a valid law. And we should go closer to the medical establishment should be able to prescribe these substances to us.